Hey everyone, and welcome back to Starflight Creations, my Flosstube here, where I talk about my stitching. My name is Matt, for those of you who are new here. And for those who have been around for a while, I don't know if I've mentioned it in a really long time, but I've got two YouTube accounts. One that I was creating to do a channel with some friends that never took off, and I could never figure out how to delete it. So my YouTube and everything that I use to watch people and whatnot is on that one, and then I use this one just to shoot my Flosstube videos. So sometimes I don't get around to, responding to the comments and everything right away. But I do go in and make sure that I've responded to all of them before I shoot the next one. But to preface that with saying, I don't know if I responded to everybody's that sent me one since the last one. I did look at all of them. I appreciated all of the nice comments and whatnot. But the last 3 weeks have been crazy, wild, chaotic. I left my old job, got a new job. I really feel like this one is going to be a much better fit for me, much more interesting, much less stress, better money, so just overall better. But I'm still going through, the hiring process, still trying to figure out what my new schedule is going to be. So there's a lot of things still up in the air with that have, made stitching time a little bit more hectic. And then there'll be some other things I'm going to keep to the end of the video, just that way if you're not interested in things that aren't stitching, you don't have to deal with them. So all total, in the last 3 weeks since I did my Flosstube on June 1st, I've got 2,543 stitches. Which, I want to be, a crafty Emily or Adelaide and be like, oh my god, that's so low. But that was generally probably pretty good for me. That's about normal. I would like that to be higher. If I could get at least 1,000 stitches a week, that would be really nice. And I really would like this videos to come out more than every 3 weeks. So that's one of the things that I am going to be looking at going forward, is trying to see if I can get myself onto a weekly or twice weekly schedule of constantly doing my Flosstubes. We shall see. I am not holding my breath. So, to talk about the stitching. Starting off with the Lola Carousel, the Museum After Midnight. I wanted so badly to be caught up on this one. And when the first one dropped, I was only at 25% done with the frame. But I told myself, well, you can just do the first thing, and then you'll get caught up on the frame as you move along. The first week she dropped 700 stitches, the next week 800 stitches, and now today she dropped the third pattern. I am not even done with the first exhibit. I have not put a single stitch into the second exhibit, so I am behind. But what have I done? I did put in 1,086 stitches on this, and for reference, here is what it looked like the last time I showed it to you all. This is where I was right after the frame, and when I was getting ready for the first exhibit. And this is what it looks like now. So I did do a good bit of the part over here. When I was working on it, I'd pull it out because it was sitting there on my bed and just kind of work with what I had. So a lot of it is the colors that were there in the frame, or colors I could find really fast and easy. But I did not get up and go to my master set and try and find the other colors that I needed, so And then at one point I moved the frame because I was using this a lot for Natesia's stitching game Wanderlust. And so I managed to finish Australia, and so then when I went to start a new one, I came over here and started the Tully Monster. And so that was a lot of fun to stitch. And the little yellow sea anemones, or, you know, plant monsters like that. Monsters, creatures. God, my brain. So yeah, that is where I'm at. The second one, I think, drops ones up above in both of those, and then I believe that the third goes up here and does a bunch of stalactites up here. So one of the things that I would really like to do is, if not get caught up, at least put a good chunk in on this. Just because, I mean, I know that the pressure's only on myself, but I kind of really wanted to keep up with this one, and I had some good goals, and so if I can get it back there, maybe I can start getting caught up again. But so it is now at 2,453 of 7,128, and that's only with the first two sections in. And that is 34.4%. So, not terrible. I'm sure that percentage will go down once I add the third one in. But, like I said, want to get caught up more on that, which we'll discuss in plans. And then, I did a bunch this month on WhipGo, which, if you watched my last video in my plans, I said how I really wanted to try and knock out a bunch of the WhipGos that were just sitting there that I hadn't been able to touch. For anybody who's new, WhipGo is a game started by Jessie Marie does stuff here on YouTube and Instagram, where she creates a bingo board, and then each month she draws out two numbers, and people will have assigned projects to the board, and it'll tell them how many stitches to put in for that, or which project to stitch on. At the beginning of the year, I did not have enough projects where I felt like I needed that help to choose the project. Like, I already had a different stitching game for which to choose the project, but what I did have was a lot of things in stash, and so I decided to make a new start WhipGo. So for each number that was called, I would have a WhipGo that was created, and then I would do a new start on it. And then, to kind of give myself some incentive, I stole from Crafty Emily her advent calendar. So I made a WhipGo advent calendar. So it says WhipGo 2026, and those silver letters are not coming up. And then each box has a number, and inside each box is a little note card with a project. So when the number is called, I pull that box out and find out what project it is, and then I can put 500 stitches in it. And if I do get 500 stitches into it, I put $5 in it. So the first one that I decided to pull out, or was a new start, was the Reader from the Primitive Hare. This is what it will look like when it is all finished. It is a needle book, and originally I wasn't going to finish it as a needle book, but just because I don't have any basically experience finishing things, I felt like the experience of finishing it as a needle book would be interesting, so I did decide to do it. I did go through and switch, because it is called for in like DMC and Classic Color Works and Kreinik and another overdyed floss. I don't know which one that one was. But quite frankly, with as much trouble as people who are much better stitches than I am have been having finding clinic, I didn't feel like going for it for this project was all that necessary, and I definitely wasn't going to try and drive 2.5 hours to my local needlework store to try and find some classic color work so I could get one skein of it. So I just went and pulled out DMC colors from my master floss, from my master set, and used that. So, where have I gotten to on it? I have put in 208 stitches, which brings this up to 268 stitches. Now, I say that there's 208 stitches in here. There's also a new start, which therefore means that all of those 268 stitches should be counted. So clearly there's an issue between Penkeeper and Notion that I used to keep track of things and how something was tracked somewhere. So maybe there's 268 stitches total. But so this is where it is at. I did a little bit of these gold stars just because they started the page, and then I worked down in this brown, getting a few of the letters in, and then I'm going to try and work my way over to the right and hit the bookcase. So this is by the Primitive Hair. It is on a 14 count Ada that I hand dyed. I did one piece of Ada and I cut it in half to use half of it for this and the other half of it for my E is for elephant. So that is that one. The next, and so at only 268 stitches, I didn't get to counting the office of 500 and put the money in. The first one that I was able to do that with was what I call White Tiger, and what it's not. I keep wanting to say Dimensions, and it's not Dimensions. It is Designworks. Designworks calls Tiger with Butterfly, and this is what it is going to look like when it is done. This I received. I got at Goodwill as a open kit, and so one of the things that I ended up doing was kitting it up. I just took one of the little pieces of cardboard that came with it and hole punched a bunch of holes in it, and then started using it as a floss strap board. For Stewards and Stitches, stroke the floss. But I have to admit that this was the most annoying thing to kit up. Maybe just generally because I don't, like, if I have like a full big project, I will try and like kit up on bobbins with just like a couple of strands that I've cut off from my master set. But I generally don't use floss straps, and I don't do it normally like this. But when I got it, it was just a whole bunch of hanks of individually, strands of the DMC floss. So I separated them all out and tried to figure out which color was which entailed putting them in things, trying to judge them by color, counting the strands, figuring out which strands had which counts, and as I was figuring them out, punching the board, putting the number in, putting them in, discovered that I have everything except for one color, which is 762, a pale gray. Apparently, for some reason, that color wasn't in the kit. I did try and do what it normally says, like on the kit, like, hey, reach out and email us with this. I think DesignWorks must not be in business, or at least not under that same email address, because that went nowhere. It literally kept coming back from Google like 3 days later, being like, we can't deliver to this spot. We will try again. I'll let you know. And the next day, it'd be like, we still can't deliver to that spot. We will try again. So that never went anywhere. But I do have 762 in my master set, so I will just pull it out when I get there. I did a rough count of finding an amount of 10 by 10 blocks on the pattern that had nothing in it, counting those up, subtracting that number from the total amount of squares to try and get an estimate. So it's somewhere roughly around the realm of 33,000 stitches. I put in 500 stitches. So I went from a new start to full 500. I was able to put the $5 in the calendar, and that got me to 1.5%. And so I started if I can figure out a way to show this. I started here with the eye. It was really kind of frustrating. Number one, to be working on paper pattern. Number two, to be on the paper pattern with hand-drawn symbols. A lot of it was just really frustrating. So I started here, kind of worked my way to the eye itself, because that was very distinct, and then kind of just kept choosing colors and, like, I don't know, I want to say like full coverage stitching that, and then I managed to work myself all the way up to the top of the page. So this gray up here is the top of the page, or the black is the top of the page up there, and so now I can kind of work my way along, making sure that every stitch is done, so that way it's a little bit easier to figure out where I am and continue on with it. So that one got put away, but as you'll hear in plans, it is probably going to end up being pulled back out, if I can figure out a way to work it into my plans the way I want. So that was my second whip go. For my third whip go, new start, I pulled out Happiness, which I don't have the pattern. I will try and have that next time the show. It is basically just a Harry Potter quote. Happiness can be found even in the darkest of places if one remembers to turn on the light. And so for this one, I wanted to use one of the new fabrics I got at the retreat I went to recently. So I got this really cool black with green opal called Logwood. It's a 14 count. And here is where I've got. So I put in 573 stitches on this. So I was able to put my $5 into the Whip Go calendar, and I'm kind of really happy with this one. I do need, like, this is like, I think like right there is halfway across, so I do need to move the frame this way and finish up that top, and then so I can just work myself way down. But this is like already, I want to say, about half of the way down the page, so it is going really fast, but I also think like the top half has less stitches than the bottom half, because the bottom half has the wand, has the bursts of light around the wand, so there's that. I do not have how many stitches it is, because it is a paper pattern. And so that was my last Whip Go one. So out of the 3 WIPGOs I was able to touch in those 3 weeks, I did finish out 2 of them for WIPGO. And so then the next one was the one that I was sent from Povetruria Hand Designs. They reached out to me on Instagram, as I told you last time, and were like, hey, would you be interested in stitching one of our bookmarks to show for free? And I was like, yes. So I chose Sam Hain out of, they had 12 bookmarks, one for each month, and I think each of them was based around the pagan festival in that month. So I chose Samhain because my friend is pagan and she's very spooky, so I knew she would love the crow and the whole thing. I put in 284 stitches on this, and it is now like this. So I have started working my way up to the top, and so I just basically need to put that branch in, and then I'm going to come up here and do the moon, and then the blue, and make that blue come down and match up with that, and then do the raven, and then I have another orange that goes right next to that other orange to make the leaves, and then I will be down underneath the start of the cauldron, and I can work my way down like this. The only thing that irritates me with this kit, like, the whole process was really smooth. It was just, you get it on Amazon, it comes delivered, it had everything that you needed, you could start it. The pattern has been really nice and easy to work off of. The one thing that irritates me is that the strips were pre-cut. Now, I understand. They send, the fabric to you already, here's your fabric. Why would they provide you more fabric than you needed? That's wasteful, bad company decisions. It irritates me because I want to put this into a Q-snap and I can't. So I'm having to stitch this one in hand. It is the first thing I have ever attempted to stitch in hand. I feel like I'm getting better at it, but I so want to put it into something every single time I pick it up. But that is me. That is how I stitch. I know probably people like Adelaide and Crafty Emily who can stitch in hand would whip their way through this. I am working on it. So, like most things this last week, it has been really working on teaching me patience. But other than that, like I want to say, that is more my personal preference of how to stitch. Other than that, the whole process of working with them as a company, the whole process of their product as an actual kit itself, great. It looks like they gave you more than enough floss for it. The fabric itself looks like it will be bigger than you need to actually have for your bookmark. So if you wanted to trim down a little bit to have a smaller bookmark, you can. If you wanted to have a bigger bookmark, you've got some extra things along the edge in case you accidentally didn't start the project in the right spot. Everything looks really nice with the kit. Just want to put that out there so that way no one takes what I'm saying against them. It's just my preference. So, for WIPGO, let me turn to my WIPGO page. Here is my WIPGO page. So here is all the projects that I have to start for WIPGO. Here I have the numbers that have been called so far, and here I had the projects that I needed to work on at the beginning of June. The ones that I was like, alright, these were the ones I called, I have not completed them, I need to get some on them. I knocked out Happiness and White Tiger. Going forward, let me show you this. So I have got 5 million of these, and so I decided to actually start using one. And so I broke it down into the week, and so I started deciding things. So Saturday will be my day to work on Roller Crow, as right now I have weekends off. That gives me a good chunk where I can put some time into that. Sunday, where I will put work into nostalgic tarot cards, which I'm working on whipping the shape, which I still have, I believe, all of May and all of June, whatever he's walked, whatever stitches accumulated for that, I still need to get caught up on those. So I put those two big projects on my weekends. Monday, I decided to give myself one day that wasn't designated just for cross stitch, and so I designated that one for writing on my book. And then I decided Thursday will be a whip go day. So currently I want to pull out a whip go, and not the whip goes I've been pulling out, because most of the whip goes I've been pulling out have been small, so I can take them to work and work on them during breaks back when I was still working at Walmart. I believe I'll be able to do the same at my new job, but so far I haven't taken anything, just because right now my whole schedule is so hectic. I just basically have been using my breaks to check phones and handle other things I've been needing to get done during the day. So, but in time, I believe I'll go back to that. So I want to keep that whip go once for the big projects that I haven't been pulling out. So one of my big projects is Penance. It's a long dog sampler. Right now it's at 281 out of the 500. So it's over halfway to that 500 mark. So I just need 219 more to hit that and be able to put the $5 in there. Plus, then it would give me a project completed for January, which would mean that I would have one for at least one of each of the months done. So I kind of want to focus on that one next. So that is my whip go plans. And we will talk about my other plans. So the other plan that I really want to get back to is Darkthorn Keep. For anybody that's new here, Darkthorn Keep is a game that I created based off of a game that Jesse Marie Does Stuff had created. I'm going to say loosely based, because when I created it back in October of last year, she had talked about her creations. She had talked about how she was playing it the first little bit. She had not yet released her how to play video. So mine is vastly different from hers, but it is more geared towards what I have. Like I said, back at that point, I didn't have a whole lot of projects. What I did want was a way to choose which project to work on, and something that would continuously get me touching all of the projects. Jessie Marie's project game is called Milestone Manor, because she wanted to hit milestones on her projects. She had a whole lot of full coverage pieces, a whole lot of really big projects that she was a quarter, middle of the way through, and she wanted to get progress. She wanted to hit those big milestones that made her keep stitching. So all of her things were geared towards milestones. All of my big projects, right at the beginning, not hitting any milestones for a long time. Not what I was geared towards. So I created Darkthorn Keep, because my projects were in the dark, and I wanted to keep working on them. So what I did was I found online D&D maps. The first one to keep with the theme from October, I chose, I just felt like I needed to have something spooky in the theme, so I chose a graveyard. And so I went through all of the buildings in the graveyard. Inside each building, I would find the project, I put in the stitches for that project, killed that boss, and then move on to the next room. Each time that I completed that, I got to roll on a rewards chart. I found like, number one, the stitches I was playing for were really big, and I was only touching that. So then I decided that I would reduce the amount of stitches I needed to do to make it to 100 stitches each time I did that. Well, then when I did that, I didn't really feel like I needed the rewards to keep going. So I kind of stopped paying attention to the rewards. What I did want to pay attention to was how much experience was being accumulated, and then leveling up. What the leveling up would gear towards, I haven't decided yet. I'm still working on that. But I went through the church, or the graveyard, then found the church inside the graveyard, cleared my way through that. I have now descended into the catacombs. So, this is my catacombs. So we started down at the bottom in the green room. We came down the stairs from the church and we entered there. And so I completed that first green room, moved into the second green room, knocked that one out, and then tried to decide if I wanted to go to the right, where I could go through a couple of different rooms and head kind of basically straight up towards those stairs. But basically I decided that I kind of was having fun with this map. I wanted to keep doing on this map. So I decided to go up to the next room. And that's where basically I ended. So I will either need to go left or right. So if I go right, I can go up into the small little vertical room and then into the octagonal room. Or if I go left, I can go through a bunch of different hallways, and so I'll have a bunch of really small rooms before I'll have to make another choice of whether or not I want to go left or right. So sound off in the comments whether or not you think I should go left or right. If we're going right, we will head towards that octagonal room, and then I will try and spend some more time looking closer at that map to determine whether or not I can come around all the way down to the bottom of that edge. If there's not any doors in there, then I won't do that. I'll just go back and head left. Or if that's the way you want me to go, then we can just go left and we can start that process. So sound off in the comments about which one you want to head towards. I'm not heading up because then I feel I would go straight up into that next room and then up the stairs, and I'm having fun in this room. So let me know what you want to go on. I did choose 2 days next week for WhipGo. So Tuesday, or not WhipGo, for Darkthorn Keep. So Tuesday and Friday are for Darkthorn Keep. And so I put all of my projects that weren't being used for something else that had completed WhipGo onto them, and I spun. So on Tuesday I will do 100 stitches on Steampunk, and on Friday I will do 100 stitches on Living Room number 2. So then if I complete both of those, I will get another 200 points of experience, keep working on leveling up. I need to find where I had my information on my Darkthorn Keep, figure out where I was level-wise. I think I was getting really close to hitting level 2. So I kind of need to focus on what a level up will give me, what it will mean. I've been really toying considering the idea that maybe I'll do level up and then move my stitches up to say 150 for each boss. I'm still working my way through that one, but I kind of feel like this way I can actually start touching more of my projects. And I feel like what I wanted to focus on with WhipGo, I got completed. I got a good chunk of the backlog started at least, and working my way through, got a couple of WhipGo finishes. So I'm happy about that. So I'm just going to keep working my way forward with that. Maybe get a couple more done before the end of the month when she will call out the July numbers. For July, a lot of people will do a mid-year whip parade. I don't think I'm going to do a mid-year whip parade. Number one, just because I don't feel like I probably have that many whips. If you all want a mid-year whip parade for me, let me know. I can do one. What I was thinking is that instead, what I will probably do either next week or the week after is drop an extra Flosstube where I will jump into the trend that from Adelaide Stitches started with their top 5 cross-stitch designers. So I will do that. I will pull up all the things I've got completed, all of the ones that I have in progress, and all of the ones I have in stash from that artist. And I will show those to you and go through my 5. If you would also like a mid-year whip parade, let me know. I can pull everything out. I just feel like it wasn't that long ago that you've seen them all. So who knows? Maybe that's just my impression, and maybe we've gained enough new people that they don't know what they look like. So if that is the case, let me know. Other than that, I will, like I said, be trying to focus more on making a more set schedule. But that will all depend on what exactly my schedule will be going forward for the job, which I still have not gotten figured out yet. So, and that will be the end of the stitching content. So just a little bit of life stuff. Just a warning, some of this is going to be a little heavy. So, as I was finishing my last job, going through that process, kind of really excited that I'd gotten the new one, got to put in my 2 weeks notice, we received a notification that my younger brother was in a car accident, that he did not survive. So I have been supporting my mother through that process of, having his body brought back home, arranging for the cremation, having the viewing. So, because I had just started Tiger with Butterfly, and because the butterflies with the tiger kind of have a very peaceful vibe, and because that is the wish I have for him, he had a lot of trouble with addiction throughout his life. He was really fighting it for his young daughter. He was really trying to be there for her. He had gone through rehab. He had been getting his life back in order. So now I kind of just wish him peace now that he is free from his addiction, free from his worries and stress. So I will be turning Tiger with Butterfly into a memorial project for him. So I will be pulling that back out. At the moment, I have an empty spot in the week, which I will probably put that in, unless my friends that I'm doing a round robin with complete with their portion of the project and we switch again, and I suddenly have round robin stitching to do. I may switch that to another week and drop something if that happens. Depends on how I'm doing with Tiger with Butterfly, how much progress I'm getting, if I feel like I need to pick it up more. So there's that. And good news, my friend who is designing images for my book has bought the first 7, so I was able to switch those out, and so now I don't have any AI in my book, which is really fun and exciting, and really makes me feel a lot better about supporting a small artist. She's like really happy every single time she sends me the completed ones that she's done, and I'm like, oh, I love these, like, here, let me send you the money. And she's just really happy, and I'm really happy to be supporting it, especially since, like, I have been searching for a while, trying to find someone who can draw, and everybody who's like, oh yeah, I can draw, then it's like, oh no, that's not what I draw. So I'm really happy that this whole progress is working out really well, and that's moving forward. It's like helped me put some more progress into that chapter of the book, which of course then got to the point where I needed to generate more cards. So I'm just going to keep this lady working and busy. But it has been really nice to have that money to make this commission and get someone to make them, and just been really fun to see her generation of the idea of the card that I've made. And both me and my friend who's been proofreading the book for me are both really appreciative of her designs that just really fit with the theme. So really happy about that. And I think that's all I have. So I will see you. I'm hoping for next week or maybe the week after. So remember, drop in the comments if you want me to go left or right, and if you would like to have a mid-year whip parade. And I will see you all next time.